William Faulkner, A Rose for Emily. Step into the haunting and poignant world of William Faulkner's A Rose for Emily, a tale that explores the intersection of tradition and change in a decaying southern town. Through the mysterious life of Miss Emily Grierson, readers will uncover themes of isolation, resistance to change, and the decline of old southern aristocracy. As Emily's story unfolds, Faulkner artfully uses non-linear timelines and rich symbols to reveal the deeply held secrets she harbors. From her concealed mansion to the townspeople's curious glances, each element of the story invites readers to ponder the complexities of heritage and the human struggle to cling to the past. Prepare to journey through a narrative that not only reflects upon societal shifts, but also offers a dark meditation on the inevitable passage of time.
Echoes of the past. When Emily Grierson died, her funeral attracted attendees driven by both respect and curiosity, for she had isolated herself in her decaying mansion for decades with only her manservant for company. Her home, once a grand symbol of the affluent Jefferson neighborhood, had succumbed to the ravages of time, reflecting the decline of the Southern aristocracy. In the past, when Emily's father passed away, a special arrangement was made by the town's then mayor, Colonel Sartoris, which exempted her from paying taxes. He concocted a story about her father lending money to the town, and Emily, clinging to the vestiges of that era, embraced this fiction. However, as years went by and new leadership emerged, the exemption was challenged. A notice demanding tax payment was sent to Emily, which she defiantly ignored. When a group of officials came to address the issue, Emily's manservant ushered them into the gloomy, neglected parlor of her home. There stood Emily, an imposing presence reminiscent of a figure from a bygone age, corpulent yet skeletal. Without offering them a seat, she reiterated her claim of tax exemption, instructing them to consult Colonel Sartoris, disregarding the fact that he had long since passed. Faulkner masterfully navigates through time, unraveling the mysteries surrounding Emily and her dilapidated abode. He interweaves potent imagery of death and decay, not only in the initial scene of Emily's funeral but also in the description of her physical presence, which mirrors that of a submerged, lifeless form. Moreover, through Emily's unwavering adherence to an outdated agreement, a deeper portrayal emerges, an emblem of the Old South's struggle to adapt amidst societal transformation. The Grierson home once marked a place of prestige, yet modernization swiftly encroached as industrial progress manifested in cotton gins and garages. These developments, while unrelated, metaphorically underscore the demise of traditionalism against a backdrop of change. Emily and her fading residence stand as relics of an era losing relevance, enveloped in a community that maintains curiosity alongside a respectful distance. Intriguingly, there is a subtle indication of Emily's past involvement in community life. At one time, she offered porcelain painting lessons in her home. This nugget of history, though minor, helps map the various chapters of her life. Faulkner establishes 4 distinct phases, providing temporal signposts: the funeral, the last futile attempt to collect taxes, the phase of her porcelain painting lessons, and the period when Colonel Sartoris relieved her from tax responsibilities. These events, placed strategically, guide the reader through Faulkner's nonlinear narrative, unraveling the layers of Emily's life while maintaining a palpable tension as to what lies concealed behind the walls of her outdated mansion. Shadows of the Griersons. Crazy runs in the family, at least that's what people whisper about the last Grierson, Emily. A few years after her father passed away, and following her sweetheart's departure, an inexplicable stench crept from her home. The villagers speculated it was due to her manservant's lack of housekeeping skills or perhaps the decomposition of a dead rat or snake he had failed to dispose of. Though unfortunate, they assumed the issue would be temporary. Yet, when the locals complained to the judge, he found himself at a loss. How could he confront a distinguished lady like Emily about such a matter? Under the cover of night, 4 men took it upon themselves to spread lime around her property to quell the odor. As they slipped away, they caught sight of Emily's silhouette, stark against the dim light from an upstairs window, watching them with an unwavering gaze. This eerie image of Emily reminded them of her aunt who had descended into madness, a mystery inherited by the family, a once great bloodline now shadowed by decline and insanity. Back in Emily's youth, she and her family were known for their grandeur. Yet despite her allure, her father had successfully warded off any potential suitors, leaving Emily alone and paradoxically content in her singlehood, smug, almost. When the patriarch died and left only a decrepit house to her name, the townspeople, who once envied her, now pitied her plight. Colonel Sartoris, out of sympathy, waived her taxes, and the women of the town paid their respects. Emily met them at the door, denying her father's death outright for 3 days, clinging to this delusion until a preacher intervened to break through her denial. This phase wasn't seen as insanity but rather as desperation, a mourning daughter unable to let go of the past. The narrative reflects Emily's enduring struggle with change, revealing how deeply her father's rigid standards rooted themselves in her psyche. The family was once depicted with Emily standing behind her father, who sat with a domineering air, clutching a horse whip, a telling tableau of control. Following these events, Emily withdrew into her labyrinthine home, isolating herself from the world. Her manservant continued to serve her quietly, almost like a ghost from the Old South, bearing witness to her declining sanity without a voice of his own. Many wondered about the poison she bought after her father's death. For a moment, she re-emerged briefly, renewing her appearance with a youthful vigor before retreating into solitude once more. Emily's story unfolds against the broader theme of a storied family's fall from grace, their wealth evaporating alongside their sanity. The peculiarities of her life, shrouded in mystery and malaise, hint at the profound loneliness and resilience forged in the shadows of past grandeur. As the pieces of her tale interlock, one senses the inevitability. Emily Grierson becomes a relic mired in her private tragedy, unwilling or unable to sever her ties with the past. But it is this sharply drawn portrait of her isolation that haunts the town's collective memory, like her silhouette, lingering silently against a dimly lit window. Love and legacy. Folks might have pitied Emily, but she carried herself with a regal air, reminiscent of her family's former prestige as one of the Griersons of Jefferson. Vibrant and full of life, Homer Barron arrived in town with a team of contractors to work on the sidewalks. His cheerful nature and booming laughter quickly endeared him to the townspeople. Soon enough, whispers spread as they observed Emily and Homer together, a scandalous pairing in the eyes of many. How could a woman of Emily's standing entertain a romance with a northerner and day laborer? Yet, her defiance underscored her enduring sense of superiority. One day, Emily ventured to the town hall and made a detour to the drugstore to procure poison. When the druggist asked if it was for rats, she tersely requested the strongest, arsenic. Despite the legal requirement for a reason, Emily offered nothing but a chilling stare, compelling the druggist to comply silently, marking the box with, "For rats." Emily's juxtaposition with Homer paints a broader canvas, she as the Old South and Homer as the new wave of progress. Perhaps her affection for Homer was a desperate attempt to bridge the gap to new times, knowing she was a relic of a bygone era. Notably, Homer had come up earlier, introduced as the sweetheart who vanished before a mysterious odor enveloped Emily's home. Her control over the situation, and indeed the town, was exemplified in the rat poison episode. Faulkner's choice of a non-linear, somewhat opaque narrative keeps readers on edge, weaving suspense through the haze of past and present. Is Emily's story one of survival or refusal to yield? That uncertainty adds to the rich tapestry of her tragic, yet awe-inspiring tale. Secrets of Miss Emily. In a town buzzing with rumors and whispers, an enigmatic figure named Miss Emily takes center stage. After a perplexing incident involving rat poison, townsfolk speculate about her future, pondering whether she intends to end her own life or convince Homer Barron, a man notorious for shunning marriage, to settle down with her. Despite his declaration of bachelorhood, Emily and Homer are seen publicly, fanning the flames of gossip. Concerned, the townspeople summon the local minister, but after his visit, he refrains from returning, leaving much to be speculated. As Emily's family gets involved, her two eccentric cousins descend upon the town. Their presence suggests a possible shift towards matrimony, as Emily is seen purchasing male garments and toiletries. Yet, Homer's sudden departure fuels speculation that the cousin's lofty airs drove him away. Their exit coincides with Homer's return, creating an air of anticipation. Once, he is spotted entering Emily's residence but vanishes thereafter. Shortly afterwards, a stench envelopes her home, prompting the men of the town to treat the grounds with lime. Isolated, Emily disappears from public life for half a year. Upon her re-emergence, she is drastically changed, bearing an iron-gray mane and a robust physique. In her insularity, Emily clings to fragments of her past, briefly becoming a porcelain painting instructor. Though her efforts to pass on this dying craft ultimately fail, the endeavor suggests a need for repute or revenue, reflecting Emily's pattern of loss. Despite mounting fiscal pressures, she consistently rejects tax notices, resigning herself to the seclusion of her decrepit home. Confined to her ground floor, Emily's presence fades from public memory until her death at 74. The tale of Homer Baron weaves complexity into Emily's narrative. His fondness for camaraderie at the Elks Club and self-proclaimed aversion to marriage fuel debates about his true nature, whether as a man seeking freedom or harboring deeper secrets. Emily's uncanny likeness to her compañeros is embodied in her iron-gray hair, a hue Faulkner likens to that of an active, vigorous man, contrasting her sedentary existence. This striking imagery invites reflection on Emily's intertwined life with Homer. The peculiar convergence of Emily and Homer's stories suggests an unsettling conclusion, a poisoned Homer hidden in the shadows of her mansion. The air of mystery surrounding his fate casts a lingering odor within both her home and this compelling story, rich with suspense and possibility. Secrets of Emily's world. As Emily's cousins returned to arrange her funeral, the entire town turned up to pay their respects. But curiosity lingered, drawing several townspeople into Emily's old, enigmatic house. The upper bedroom had remained locked for years, a mystery waiting to be unraveled. Breaking down the door revealed a room blanketed in dust, eerily prepared for a wedding night long forgotten. Items meant for Homer, Emily's romantic interest, remained scattered: toiletries, a man's pair of shoes and socks, a collar abandoned on the nightstand. But the most haunting discovery lay in the bed itself. There, a man's corpse had succumbed to time, merging with the sheets and covered in dust. The onlookers, shocked but intrigued, approached to find an indentation on a pillow, heavily suggesting someone had slept beside the body. Among the dust in the indentation, a single long strand of iron-gray hair hinted at Emily's secret: she lay beside Homer even after his likely poisoning and decay had occurred. Her morbid attachment underscored a timelessness she'd consistently clung to throughout her life. Emily's resistance to the present day was evident in her past actions. When her father passed, she defied reality by refusing to accept his death for several days. Her peculiar dismissal of paying taxes, instructing those who opposed her to consult long-deceased Colonel Sartoris, spoke to her delusion. The story paints her as a symbol of bygone days, a metaphor for the declining Old South, encapsulated by dust-covered remnants from a past era. Emily's steady determination to conquer any force opposing her path and the whispered insanity within her family thread together to make her final, shocking secret seem plausible. Though the tale's title, A Rose for Emily, might be misleading, the story itself embodies that rose, a gesture of homage to a bygone, no longer relevant monument. As the townspeople uncover Emily's deeply buried truth, they witness that for her, time held only the past, eagerly erasing any semblance of the future.
In the stark and unsettling conclusion of A Rose for Emily, we find a tapestry woven with the threads of decay, obsession, and the haunting whisper of a bygone era. Faulkner leaves readers with the shocking revelation of a life steeped in denial and isolation, personified by Emily's entanglement with both the departed and her own stagnant existence. The discovery of Homer's decaying corpse alongside the unmistakable strand of gray hair speaks volumes about Emily's desperate attempt to halt the march of time. Through this chilling finale, Faulkner elegantly encapsulates the thematic essence of the Old South's demise, a reminder that time spares no one. Ultimately, the narrative invites us to reflect on the impermanence of societal structures and the dire consequences of an unyielding adherence to the past. In Faulkner's poetic witnessing, A Rose for Emily stands as a tribute to the timeless dance between history and the inevitable tide of modernity.